All right, we have some breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ out of the NFL. Joe Mixon is going to be out for the first 4 games of the season. So the Texans plan to place Mixon on the reserve/non-football injury list on Tuesday. So he's dealing with a foot/ankle injury that he suffered while away from the team. Mixon ran for over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns last year in his first season with the Texans. All right, so we have fantasy drafts that are happening very shortly. So let's welcome in our fantasy expert, Dave Richard here. This is big news, right? Joe Mixon, he's going to be out for the first 4 games of the season. So what is the impact of this? How do we handle it from a fantasy perspective, Dave, as we do have some drafts that are coming up for a lot of folks?
How do you feel about drafting headaches? Does that sound like fun? Is that something you want to do with fantasy? Then don't draft Joe Mixon because he hasn't been able to do as much as practice since May. This is a problem in Houston because their other running backs aren't great either, and Mixon was such a stud last year. Now there's a chance, who knows if we're even going to see him. We know we're not going to see him for the first 4 weeks of the season, but there's no reason for the Texans to rush him back. I'd be very nervous to draft him, especially if my league didn't have injured reserve spots. You know, sometimes you can stash guys away in there. And so if you want to take him in like round 10, round 11, go for it. But I'd rather go in a million different directions in a fantasy draft. I can't believe I'm saying it, but Joe Mixon, someone is off my draft board.
Okay, if anybody on that team to target at running back in your draft right now?
Not really. I mean, like,
stay away from all.
I can name multiple Cleveland Browns running backs, plural Cleveland Browns running backs, that I would rather have than a single Texans running back right now. I know they've got Nick Chubb. He's older. He hasn't been nearly as explosive as he once was. He's had a bunch of injuries that have slowed him down. They've got Dameon Pierce. They like him as a passing downs back. I wouldn't touch him. We know that he's failed us a number of times. They have this interesting rookie named Woody Marks. But he could play on passing downs too. But they also have space now because they're going to put Mixon on NFI for another running back, and they've been carrying Dario Gumbawale for years as a third down back. Don't draft him either. Don't draft any of these guys unless it's like round 10, round 11, something like that.
All right, so how do you feel about the receiver room, though? A lot more passing from C.J. Stroud?
That's what I'm hoping for. Okay. I'm so glad that you asked that question because really that's the direction that I would encourage fantasy managers to go in. We already know that Nico Collins, super stud, he's going to be a first-round pick. C.J. Stroud isn't somebody that I'm going to draft to be my number 1 quarterback, but if I want to stash a quarterback, I might go with him just because I know that he's going to have to throw a lot. And then one of the best ways to change up a run game is to throw short passes. And they've got a great slot receiver in Christian Kirk who might be able to step up and get himself 6-7 targets per game. You can get him in the double-digit rounds. I'd rather draft Christian Kirk in a PPR league than any of these stiffs at running back.
All right, Dave Richard here saying stay away from the Texans running backs, including Joe Mixon, unless you want a headache. He's going to be out at least the first 4 games of the season against the Rams.
Going to need a lot of pills if you draft Joe Mixon.
Rams, Bucks, Jags, Titans are the 4 teams that he's definitely going to miss games against.
And when he comes back, let's just say he comes back in week 5, it's Baltimore
and then a
bye.
Yeah.
So when are you ever going to feel good about starting Joe Mixon? The answer is never. We'll talk about it more on our podcast.
On FFT.